Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Table to Stage. I'm Jordan Worma. Today we'll be speaking with Jeffrey McCann, a Hartford-based playwright who is bringing the first Fringe Festival to Hartford this October. The Fringe Festival is Hartford's first annual celebration of fringe theater, dance, music, and comedy. The festival runs October 17th through 26th at the Carriage House Theater, and it features 19 different acts and 40 performances. You can visit hartfordfringefestival.org for schedules and for tickets. It was really great sitting down to speak with Jeffrey. His experiences as a playwright span both coasts of the country and include lots of interesting stories. Now, if you enjoy hearing from him or from the other creators featured on Table to Stage, I'd encourage you to leave a rating or a review of the show on your podcast service of choice, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And I'd love to hear from you directly with your questions or comments about the show, so please email tabletostage@gmail.com or visit tabletostagepod.com to get in touch. Okay, let's get to Jeffrey McCann and the Hartford Fringe Festival.
I was born in Hartford's North End and Nelton Court, the projects. So
Okay.
So yeah,
What was it like growing up there?
Sucked. When you're a kid and you're different and you get bullied almost every day of your life for the years that you lived there, you tend to hate being there.
Yeah.
It wasn't all bad. I come from a family of 7 kids. I'm number 6 out of the 7.
Oh, wow.
My mother was single
That's
parent.
A lot of kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And we weren't, my mother was divorced and she was remarried, to my brother's father. And then, they divorced. And then it was been a couple of years, almost 20, I think, before she got remarried. But it was fun when it's the family because the dynamics of the family, it's just hilarious because we were always making each other laugh or there was always something going on. And my mother had to be the strong one to basically take care of these 7 kids.
Yeah.
But she was a great mother and, I wish she was here now, but, she would enjoy the new grandkids and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, she died about 20 years ago when I was living in Seattle. She would enjoy meeting all her grandkids, and some of those grandkids are like, and great grandkids are just a spitting image of her.
Oh, wow.
And in spirit.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
No, when you're growing up in Hartford, were you exposed to the arts at all? Was this something that you had to seek out afterwards?
It's weird how that all started because it started when I was in elementary school and we were doing Black History Month. And it was, they did this show about who am I?
Yeah.
So we would have to come up and each of us had to give a kind of a riddle on who we were. So I get up there, my little green suit and my sunglasses, and I say, I'm this famous person, I play piano, and blah, blah, blah. And then one of the girls in the audience screams out, "You're Stevie Wonder." I said, "You're correct." And then I walk away. I was Ray Charles. so I was like, that's it. I'm in theater now.
Okay.
And yeah, I had to seek it out because my teacher, Mr. Fain, thought I was really good at, doing stuff. So then I wrote my very first play at 7.
7 years old?
7 years old for Puerto Rican Week.
Okay.
Yes, we celebrated Puerto Rican Week.
A whole week.
A whole week.
How progressive.
And it's the 70s. And I wrote this play and didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I just wrote play, and it was animate the puppets. And it was set on Puerto Rico on a farm.
Okay.
And I had the puppets were like the farm animals, and I had all the kids from my show dressed up with the little straw hats and all this other shit. And it was just hilarious. And I still don't even know what the play was about, but then at the end of it, I know that we played some music, some Latin music, and then we all started dancing like this. It's like, look, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
I'm hooked. So then, I didn't do any other shows, but I just kept writing my own little skits and things like that. And I
just consistently from the time you're 7 years old.
Yeah, off and on. I just, I would be in my room and just pad of paper, pens, and just start writing, or the old manual typewriter. So, I would go to the store, buy the ribbon, and lift some carbon paper from school.
I'll have to put like a link to a museum page so everybody knows what a typewriter is.
And just would be home and type them out, and then get to school, and the teachers would let me use the old crank machine. So
the ditto machine. Yeah.
So
I will never forget the smell of that machine.
Yeah. So I would do that, and it just had the teachers encouraged me to write and to
that's good.
Do stuff like that, and so that's how that pretty much started. And then I didn't really start performing like actual real plays until I was like 15, 16. It was I auditioned. Okay. Hartford Stage Company used to have a youth theater program.
Okay.
They kind of do, but this one, we actually got paid.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
We got paid. Not a lot, but it was something.
I give people the impression that there's money to be made in the arts.
Not during that time period. No. It was the city of Hartford was actually a big help with that, because it was through crack. Mm-hmm. So we were able to get paid through the city and to perform.
Oh, that's great.
And not just perform. If you had an interest in the technical aspect, like set design, building sets, costumes, orchestra, administration, you got paid for doing those things.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and I did that for 3 years, but it was going on under the director Clay Stevenson, who was an instrumental person who helped a lot of us, because right now a lot of us have gone on to doing Broadway and movies and TV shows and things like that. So when we learned the classics, or what we called old shows, mm-hmm. but it was, of course, Wonderful Town of Thee I Sing, Kiss Me Kate, mm-hmm. West Side Story, Two Gentlemen Verona. So we were able to learn some of those classic songs and songs that we end up using for our audition pieces and whatnot. But it's so different now from what they have. But yeah, we actually started I started it, a Facebook page of alumni of the Hartford Stage Youth Theater.
Oh, really?
So we got a couple of people, like some of them. So I would say one of the people, we got a couple of people, but one of the people who was a part of that was Ileana Douglas. So she was in Two Gentlemen of Verona. So that's how I saw her in that show. I wasn't in that show. I didn't come in until Kiss Me Kate. I auditioned for a couple of once before, and I didn't get in. And I was so heartbroken. And so that's how
that's part of it, auditioning and not getting a role.
Yeah, but something that the director liked in me. So he was also directing a second show at the same time, show called The Prodigal Sister. And that was through Artist Collective.
Okay.
And so that's how I end up, performing and getting paid for the very first time on stage. I played the doctor, and it was hilarious because my scene partner was Eric LaSalle from ER. And also I went to high school, and he was a senior at the time. I was just coming in as a freshman at Weaver High School.
Is that how people know him from ER?
From ER, and Coming to America.
Coming to America is how I know him.
The Jerry Curl Prince, yeah. So we did a scene.
Always beautiful, sexy. Jesus, 1, 2, 3.
Just let your soul go. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul go, baby. Feeling oh so silky smooth. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul go.
We were doing a scene, and there's a scene where the prodigal daughter, shipped herself back home after being on the streets. She shipped herself back home in a coffin to escape whatever she was going through.
Wow.
And so he was playing her dad, and and so what happened was there was supposed to be a prop in the coffin, in the casket. It was a pair of scissors. And they did not make it into the thing.
Oh.
So show's going on. And then he says, Doctor, what's going on? And I'm supposed to lift the pair of scissors up, and I'm like, there's some damn scissors in the thing. It's like, he's a bigot. I was like, yeah, it's the scissors, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh God, it was just horrible. It was horrible. So that was that was my first acting paid gig.
How old are you?
I was 15. 15. Yeah, I was because I had just started going. I just was just becoming a freshman.
Okay.
At Weaver High School.
So it sounds like that whole program that you're a part of was really influential and formative for everybody that went through it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what sort of lessons or skills did you take away from that experience that you are able to apply afterwards and even continuing through today?
I think what the main thing was, I didn't know I had the talent, I guess, to go and do other things because I started off as a elementary school writer, then high school, just started to learn more about acting, then became a dancer.
Oh, really?
That. Yeah. Toning the body. Can't say that today. but, it was dancing and modern dance and just conditioning my body and stuff. And I didn't think I would be that. I didn't think that was in my wheelhouse. So then,
I mean, if you're writing, I mean, you must be drawn to story at this point, right? Did you find any connection with involving your body in that storytelling along with the writing that you're doing with dance? Anything? Did that all come to you kind of together?
Not really.
Okay.
It was just that I wanted to be a performer, and I didn't know exactly where I fit because I thought that I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to go to college and go move to New York. But then it just felt like that wasn't me. And then I just felt like maybe I'm a dancer. And I'll do that. And then it just felt like that wasn't me either. And later. And then I just realized writing is my talent.
Yeah.
I just decided that was something I can control and something that my voice being heard, because I don't feel like the acting and the dancing was there.
Okay.
So then that's how
skill level wise?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And all of a sudden, I just started writing. how it really started with my first play was a friend of mine died. And he was, I guess he had some sort of disease, cancer or something like that. And this was at the height of AIDS. So we didn't know what it was. And then when I heard he died, it just floored me. And I just started writing at 6:00 p.m. and wrote until like 7 the next morning.
Oh, wow.
And I had wrote 21 pages of A Fine Line.
Wow.
And I just, it was just something that I knew I had control, and it was the only way that I could process my grieving. I mean, we weren't like best friends, but we knew each other through a LGBT group at the time where I used to go. And so that's how I knew him.
Okay.
And so that just kind of shocked me, because at that time, a lot of things were happening. Kids were being kicked out of their houses. Kids were living on the street. Kids were living in their cars. And I was still in the closet at the age of 17.
So this is mid 80s?
This was 86.
Okay.
About that time. So, and it was just tough. I mean, because you just didn't know. I mean, we became somewhat of a family because we all were going through different things at that time. But I just felt like this is something I can do for myself to grieve.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what was A Fine Line? What was the story there?
Okay. Fine Line was, it was about it was loosely based on the Chef versus O'Neill case back then, where the student and his parents, and I think a group of parents, were suing the state because they
State of Connecticut,
because they weren't integrating the schools.
Yes.
I was already out of school by that time. I think it was like 2 years, 3 years out. So I felt it was an article in the newspaper in the Hartford Current. So I said, this is interesting. I'm going to write a story. So
this is 40 years ago that this case happened.
Say that.
Well, contextually, I think it's important because Connecticut is seen as a sort of progressive place,
and they're still being sued,
and it's still an ongoing
Right.
issue. And it wasn't that long ago that even this court case had to be brought.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So about that time, and it was therapeutic also because it was. Yeah, you really felt the difference when it came to the education in the city. And then they had Project Concern. I think that was the name of it. Project Concern was where they had kids from the inner city go and get shipped out to Simsbury, Avon, Canton, and all this other stuff. But they
following that,
but
Boston
they were not
model.
coming back in. They weren't letting the suburban students come in to Hartford.
Right.
So I decided to write that show. It was a comedy drama, and I did the first show here in Hartford at Christ Church, and back in that time, and then did a co-production of it with the Hartford Children's Theater, and then. Eventually, it kept going to when I took it out to Seattle and performed it out there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what sort of themes and topics did you hit on in this play? I mean, this is your first, is it full-length play, right?
Yeah, it was a full-length play.
So the first time you're
2
tackling
acts.
a full script.
Yeah.
What
2 acts.
sort of themes and messages were you trying to convey?
The difference between, the racism between the groups, because it was about a white kid who goes to a black school instead of the black kid going to a white school. And we were touching on education when it comes to grades. We touched on a possible one of the characters being gay, but not without it being said.
Okay.
What it is to be black when it comes to when you're being bullied by other kids thinking that you talk white. Being an Oreo and all that other stuff. We did a lot of your mother is so big, those lines and stuff like that. The other one was when you feel like you're being taken granted and things like that. So it was all over the place. It was basically what, when you're a kid at that time, that teenagers, there are a lot of topics. And I think I tried to throw in the kitchen sink on this one, but over
was that just because it was your first time with a full script?
Yeah. And
you have all those pages to work with.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it was about 60 pages, 65. And it was a 2-act show. So, 2 acts. I got everything in as much as possible with choreography and choral poem, everything. Yeah. So I was throwing everything into this play. And what's so funny is I still am in touch with one of the actors who played in the show when we first did it. And he's like now father with kids, married, and another actress who I worked with in Seattle. She's now married with 2 kids. It's like so wild. So
So the first production was in Connecticut?
The first one was in Connecticut. Okay. We did it at Christchurch.
And then you took it to Seattle.
I took it to Seattle, but we did it like 2 or 3 more times here in Hartford. I actually won an award from at the time, the Connecticut Gay and Lesbian came in later, commission. And I won for best production. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
My first award. So, and then, when I moved to Seattle, I decided to do that production at the Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
When I first got there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So. All right. So what was the impetus for you to go to Seattle?
I have been involved with several groups here in the Hartford area, from like the beginning, particularly, the, Connecticut Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, the Outfilm, which was a spinoff of a gay and lesbian group called Alternatives. And I was like head of their performance department. We had different areas, film, performance, literary, and things like that. So that was an offshoot of that group. When that group went down, then that kept going. That was the only thing that kept going out of that.
Okay.
The other one was the Hartford Children's Theater. I was there when we started it, day one. And then I was, doing other stuff. But what made me decide to leave Connecticut was, one, I wasn't in college. I didn't go to college. I wasn't getting jobs, and working in theater was very tough. Working in theater when you don't have a college degree. Yeah. And, and I was doing a lot of volunteer, but I was also getting some piece jobs when it comes to like being hired to do costumes or stage managing for the children's theater and things like that. And I just needed a real job. I needed something that was going to pay me.
But in the theater world.
I was being idealistic. Yeah. Gee. Yeah. And I just said, after 5 years with the Hartford Children's Theater, I'm like, I got to leave. I'm not going to get anything if I stayed here. I felt like if I didn't leave, I would never leave. Yeah. So, I mean, I was young enough. So I said, see ya. Yeah, yeah. So then moved to Seattle and lived there for 8 years.
Now, Seattle's not a city that, for me, comes to mind as a major theater location. So what was the theater scene like when you arrived there?
The theater scene in Seattle was booming. Yeah. It was, because you also got to realize you had Microsoft. You had all these .com companies, new companies popping up, Starbucks, Amazon. All these companies were just, giving money to arts organizations and things like that. Right then and there, when I moved to Seattle the week, and I keep telling this story. I moved out to Seattle.
I'll try not to cry as you tell this story.
I moved out to Seattle the week they found Kurt Cobain's body. So I was there I flew out on the 4th, found out like a day or two later that day. It was just wild. But
wow.
in Seattle at that time, it was booming. It was the theater scene was booming. It was like over 200 theaters.
It was the center of the pop culture world for a while.
And it was the height of, it was the height of grunge. And it was, the music scene was just booming. And, there were kids who were graduating from colleges, like in North Carolina School of the Arts and Yale and Juilliard and Chicago. They were all moving to Seattle because Seattle at the time had that Gold Coast. The Gold Coast is basically, you had Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco. So on that route, there were a lot of television and film and going on, and there were a lot of casting directors were looking for actors from that area, and Arizona and Chicago also, when it comes to theater. And so it was just happening. It was the happening place. So you could redevelop yourself to start your own theater group or just getting stuff done. And having a fringe theater there helped, because not everybody had a structure theater to do something.
Now, did you have any trouble integrating into the theater community when you arrived there?
No, I basically walked around and said, I just moved here. I need to do theater.
You just got off the bus.
I just literally, I just got off the bus. So I was involved with a theater group. It was a theater school called Northwest Actor Studio.
Okay.
And I worked
It's
there.
not a James Lipton thing, right?
No. It wasn't a bit, but okay. And I worked with them. I did intern there for a couple of months, a year actually. And then we just developed a great relationship where I was able to produce my works, like A Fine Line and some other shows, and do it there. And then eventually I got a job at a contemporary theater, which is one of they say the top 3 regional theaters in Seattle. There was 3. There was Entomon, Seattle Rep, and ACT. And so I was the front desk person at ACT, and I was the person that go, hello, this is ACT Theater. How can I help you?
Foot in the door, though, right?
Yes, because with that, I was able to get free rehearsal space, borrow costumes, borrow props, and all that other stuff. And if I didn't have that as that support from the theater, I would have never been able to do a lot of things that I did when I was out in Seattle.
Right.
So
when you brought A Fine Line over there with you, though, I mean, did that production change from what it was in Connecticut?
Yeah.
For a new audience on the West Coast?
It did. And we did 2 productions, actually. We did one as a summer theater program, and then we did the second one for the Fringe Festival.
Okay.
For the Fringe Festival, for the summer program, I wasn't able to get a lot of guys. So we had to
Weird.
Go figure. So I had to cast I had to cast girls in some of the roles, and it was just saying like, okay. But when we did it for the Fringe, we had the people that I needed, and we just tore it up.
Really?
And when you listen to people who are also around that same age, and you incorporate a lot of what they went through, and if some of this themes resonate with them, it helped the show a lot more. So we did really well. We got some great reviews, and it was a fun time. It was a fun time to see that really develop into something fun.
Yeah. Okay. So we've mentioned the Fringe Festival a couple times now. So what exactly is a Fringe Festival?
I'll try my best. I guess you got to say it's. I have to. The Fringe Festival is basically when it comes to Edinburgh. Okay, the first Fringe Festival
we're going
was
to
in
Scotland.
Edinburgh. Right, Scotland. Scotland. Let's go to Scotland. There were, from the story I heard, people were invited to do this festival in Edinburgh. There were groups of people who wanted to do the festival also, but they didn't get an invitation.
Okay.
So to do the festival. So what happened was they decided that they're going to do the festival anyway, outside the perimeter
Gotcha.
of the where the other people were doing the show.
So it's literally on the fringe.
It is on the fringe of the festival. So that's how that happened. And a lot of famous people have done the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, you know, mostly UK artists, you know, and even today, you know, comedians and performers, musicians and dancers do the festival.
Is it something that still happens in Edinburgh?
I think it's like 80 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, so that's going on right now. As a matter of fact, I think it's going on right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's such a great concept, especially if you want to be a performer or you want to create something to see your work on stage. And that's the greatest thing about the Fringe. It's like anybody can create something. It may not be something that a lot of people understand. It could be something traditional. It could be very controversial. It could be contemporary. It could be anything. So
it's a space to explore, right?
Right, exactly. And things from that go on to some shows go on to have a life after that. So yeah.
So Seattle has a Fringe Festival.
Seattle, Minneapolis, DC, they call it the Capitol Hill one.
Okay. So it's all over.
It's all over, and definitely through Canada. And there's pretty much a lot of the Fringe Festival who've learned to take that template and put it onto their organizations.
Okay. So what made you decide that Hartford had to have a Fringe Festival?
Why not?
That's a good excuse.
That's a very good excuse. I thought that there were a lot of people. Well, after directing Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe about 2 years ago, I just felt like I want to do something different. I want to do something that I've been wanting to do. I've been wanting to do the Fringe Festival here in Connecticut since I moved back one of two times. And I just said, why not? Let's just do it. I mean, we got creative talent. We got people around here who are writers. We got people who are performers who have been dying to do something that's just not the regular chestnut-y type of show like Arsenic and Oatlace.
Right.
They want to do something a little more daring. And this is the opportunity for them to do that. And especially Hartford. Why not Hartford? Yeah. Hartford has a lot of talent. The greater Hartford area, the state of Connecticut has a lot of talent.
It's really amazing how much there is in the state.
Right. And I'm just floored that nobody thought about doing this before. I mean, I've had people who said, oh, that would be great if we had, but I said, why don't you just go ahead and do it? Well, you know, and I just said, you know, let's just do it.
Yeah. So this is the first year.
This is the very first year, and I'm stoked on how excited people are about it. Those who know what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm just floored by the acts that we received over the last couple of months.
Okay. So the festival is about 10 days?
The festival is October 17th through the 26th.
Okay.
At the Carriage House Theater at 360 Farmington Avenue, across from Mark Twain House.
Okay.
So
how many different shows are part of this festival?
There are 20 as of now.
So there could be more?
No.
Okay.
No, right now. No, but the thing about it is we just added our 20th show.
Okay.
And it was very tough to even get the first group of acts because when we announced that we were doing a festival, there were a lot of people saying, "Oh, that's great. I can't wait to do it." Oh, yeah. Then when it came to actually signing up, then they go, you heard crickets.
Yeah. Do you think some of that is just I don't know if what I want to do is a good fit for something like this?
Well, yeah. I mean, that was kind of the other thing too. But the one, and I don't know, maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot on this one, but we don't censor.
Okay.
We want people will know if it's a good show or not.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is we want to give you a platform to perform, to create something that maybe, some other theaters probably won't touch, but we're willing to to have you perform something that's passionate to you. I always say that if you have a script, if you were a college student, you wrote this amazing script and it's now 20 years later and you're still wondering that script is great, this is the place for you to do it. You produce your show. We're just there to give you the platform to market your show and to give you support. But overall, you are calling the shots on your show, but overall, we are giving you the platform. Yeah. So that's, I mean, we're getting people, we're still getting calls to do the festival. And we have to turn some people away because one, we're not paying you. We're not doing a flat fee to pay you to be in a festival. This is for people who want to be in the festival as artists and to bring something that they created that they want to perform. That's not what we are all about. So I've been getting calls from established artists who, that want us to pay them a flat fee and their entourage and all this. And that's not us.
So what kind of stuff are you looking for? How do you put together a festival like this when you've got, you must have pieces of art from all kinds of different creative venues, right? Theater, music, comedy, like what kind of stuff are you putting together?
We have acts from Maine, New York, Boston area, and Western Mass, and Connecticut. A friend of mine is coming in from Maine, who's a comedian, and he's got a hearing disability. We have a musical coming in from New York City.
A musical theater
group coming in from New York City. We have a performer who's doing a solo piece about the history of gay women from 1929 to 1968. It's all over the place. Yeah, it really is. We got dancers, a physical theater company called Other Voices. They're coming to the festival. They were the last one that we chose. Okay. We had to make concessions on a lot of pushing our deadline because our deadline was originally March 15th. Okay. And then we just started getting more people that wanted to do it or who just found out about it. So we just said, okay. Yeah. But we also had to make sure that they wanted to do it before we announced them and some of the other groups. Yeah. So, yeah. So
how do you bring like a festival whose first time in Hartford? How do you make that rise up amongst all the other offerings the state has, especially in theater in Hartford, because there's so much going on these days. So how do you draw people in? How do you, not just the performers, but audiences?
Well, we just have to do it by word of mouth and marketing and just getting word out and getting the artists to talk about their shows and support the shows. We can only do so much. We can put it out there. But if you're not promoting it on your Facebook page, Instagram, and things like that, you know, it just happens. So we do the best we can when it comes to that. And I feel that the reason why I think this should work, this festival should work, because it's totally different from any other thing that's around the greater Hartford area. We have the Jazz Festival, we have the West Indian Festival, we have the Pride Festival, we have all these festivals, we have even an improv festival, but we don't have a group theater performer, dancers, that. And we're not a variety show. That's another thing. That's not what we are. We are a performing arts group, focused theater, dance, comedy, dance. That's our thing. The other thing different is this is local talent.
Yeah.
This is people who are from the area that have been maybe performing before. This is also for novice or professionals to get their work done. So, people with theater background or dance background or whatever, this is a chance for them to come and create something that is theirs.
Is it all created specifically for the festival, or is some of this stuff been done elsewhere?
Some of it has been, some of it is new. Okay. But we're excited that the offerings that we've got, because it gives them a chance to be a part of it. And also it's affordable. It's a lot affordable compared to DC or to Minneapolis. Yeah. This is the initial, what I like to say is it's the seed being planted, and then hopefully it will grow to other areas around the Asylum Hill area, because we want to keep it around Asylum Hill because it is walking distance to the festival. Okay. If we were to get other venues in the area. Yeah. So we want to keep it here in the Asylum Hill and not try to have one show down at Wadsworth or something.
Right. So what's the lineup like? You say you have 20 different shows.
Yes.
Over 9 days? 10 days. Every one of these shows just being done one time?
Some of them are being, what we did was to not overdo it, is you had an option between 1 and 4 shows. You could do one show, you could do 4 shows. So most of these shows that are being presented, there will be probably average is 3. Okay. Between 1 and 3. There's really...
So you have more than one chance to see most of these things happen. Okay.
Yes. And there's only 2 shows that are 4. Okay. For performances. So you get a chance to see these shows.
All right. What's the schedule like? Is it just evenings? Is it during the day?
It's evenings during the weekdays. We start our shows at 6, Monday through Friday. Okay. And then on the weekends, we start our shows about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning.
And just go all day.
And go until about 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the ticket situation? Is it one ticket to access everything, or is it individual?
Well, it's individual this year. Okay. We were going to try to do a flex pass, but right now it's just a small staff of about 3.
Wow.
Right now, and we just do not have the ability to do a box office setup. So you would have to go online to order tickets for the festival. www.hartfordfringefestival.org. Okay. To get your tickets that way. And tickets we try to keep the ticket prices affordable. General tickets are $15, and for students and senior citizens, it's $10.
Okay. All right. Now, so this is the first Hartford Fringe Festival.
Yes.
You are the one that got this thing going.
Yep.
You must have something of your own in this festival. So let's talk about it.
Okay.
Black Irish.
Yep.
Brand new show?
No.
Okay. You've been living with this for a while, right?
Yeah. I had to put a show in because I didn't think that we were going to get a lot of acts at the beginning.
Really? You were hedging your bets with this one, huh?
I figured, you know what? I'll put it in. Let's see what happens, because when we March, which was the deadline, we only had like 7 acts. And I'm like, this is not good. Yeah. And then
that's far in advance.
Yeah, too. Yeah. And then we started building along. So we pushed the deadline back a little bit and stuff like that. And then we got then we were up to 19. Wow. Then we lost 2. Then we gained 2. So, but I had put my show in because I just didn't think that we were going to get a lot of acts. So,
all right.
So we Black Irish was done in Seattle. It had its world premiere there, and this is the East Coast premiere.
Okay.
I like to say it's the East Coast premiere. And the show is loosely based on a what if.
Okay.
It's a what if. At the time, Riverdance had just come out. Everybody wanted to know about their Irish ancestry.
Right.
It was like Irish.
Michael Flatley was a cultural icon for a while.
and that shag. So I was talking with a friend who was originally from Africa, and we were talking about features and things like that. And I said, with the last name McCann, there's got to be some Irish somewhere in my background.
Sure.
So, and I said, I'm going to write a play. It's about a young African-American kid going to visit some long-lost relatives in Ireland.
Okay.
And see just throw it against the wall and see what happens.
All right.
So
this is sort of a fictional account of what would happen if you went and chased your
ancestry. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is way before Ancestry.com, DNA, and all this other stuff.
Yeah, you couldn't just, was it 23andMe?
Yeah, this is way before that. So I just wrote, and I watched a lot of Irish movies. Commitments, everything. the Snapper. I just watched Irish movies left and right.
Yeah.
And played the soundtrack to Riverdance over and over and over and over.
Oh boy.
So just to get into that feeling.
So you're willing to suffer for your art.
Hey, I do what I can. We as writers. So so that was really, so when we did the show in Seattle, it did really well. I was shocked by how well the show went. And that was 20 years ago almost.
I won't read the date off.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Don't. So I said, yeah, what the heck? So I always wanted to do the show. I mean, I've done the other plays that you seen some of the posters for, but this was the one that I felt like needed a second production. And so I figured, what the hey, it's, back home, do it at home for the home crowd and see what they say.
What about Black Irish tells you that doing a new production of it now is relevant?
I think because of the whole Ancestry.com. I mean, people are starting to want to know where they came from. And I thought this was relevant for that time. I did the DNA thingy.
Did you have the Irish?
The first time around, did that whole West Coast Africa thing. Okay, we knew that. Yeah, no problem. Then I'm like looking. I'm like, what the hell? Where is it? No Irish. So I'm like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden I'm noticing, why is there marking for Finnish Russian?
Maybe we have an ancestor.
Yeah, maybe. And then I'm like, okay, Russian, Finnish, interesting. So then Ancestry has a new thing on that you can switch over to this other thing.
Okay.
And then I'm looking and I go, oh, thank God. I'm like, there's got to be some Irish. So it was like 3%.
Okay.
And then I got a lot of English, Scottish, Welsh, Northern France, German, Czechoslovakian.
Oh boy.
I'm like, where the hell all this coming from?
Yeah.
So, but I didn't care. I said, I got the Irish in it. So, I mean, it'd be kind of hard to write this play and not think you have no Irish in you.
Yeah.
So it's 3%. I'm good with it.
Okay.
So,
all right. So a new production of Black Irish. And I know it's the story of a kid following trying to look into his ancestry. Are there any themes or topics that you deal with in the course of this story that are themes that you tend to find yourself drawn to when you're writing? In other plays or other things that you've worked on?
I think originally my theme, I guess, that I used to write is kids in peril.
Oh, okay.
So A Fine Line, My Gay Son's Wedding, Blue Moon, Will, which are the other shows with teenager or young people in peril or in conflict. The same with Black Irish. Black Irish is basically about a kid who goes to Ireland, who visits his grandfather's long lost relatives. They thought the Uncle Pat was killed there, but actually he left. And won't say anymore. Gotta come and see it. But yeah, but it's not such a heavy piece. It's got some stuff in there about, racism, about committing to something that you start.
Okay.
Finding love with in that particular area, town. It's just it's got 3 different storylines in it. So.
Okay. So you've been writing plays since the mid 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said before, A Fine Line sort of sparked by, the way that AIDS had been coming through society at the time. Have you witnessed a change over that span of years between the way LGBTQ topics, AIDS is public health regardless of LGBTQ aspect, but the way these things are addressed in theater or other pop culture arenas, have you been able to see the way that has evolved and changed, or has it changed?
When I first wrote Once in a Blue Moon, which was my first play, gay play.
Okay.
At the time, the plays that were out were The Normal Heart, As Is, and there was another one, and they were all AIDS-themed shows. And I'm like thinking, can't there be a show where the lead actors don't commit suicide, don't have AIDS,
right,
and just have a great, loving, romantic comedy relationship?
Right.
So I wrote, that was my my thing for the LGBT community, was that play.
Yeah.
Then I decided to write the sequel to it, and that was My Gay Son's Wedding, and I did that one in Seattle. I did actually my Once in Blue Moon here at Christ Church. And then when I left and moved to Seattle, did the show there. But then I was a part of the Gay Playwrights Festival of New Plays, and that's how My Gay Son's Wedding happened, because it was a sequel. And it was funny how that show started, because when we somebody gave me the title My Gay Son's Wedding, and at the time, before marriages and stuff like that, everybody laughed. So I was like, oh my God, great line, great title. So we did the show. When we did the festival, the Playwrights Festival, it was in the basement of a skateboard shop. In the same building as the Northwest Actors Studio. They had the top 2 floors, and then it was the skateboard shop, and then in the basement was the other theater group.
Wow.
And we had it was a 40-seat theater. And so we had 7 people that first night. Then it went up to about 13 the next night. Then it went back down to 7 the next night. And then that last night, it was about 57 people.
Wow.
Standing room.
Nice.
We had to bring chairs in from Northwest Actors Studio. So that's like 3 flights upstairs, bringing chairs downstairs. And it did well.
Yeah.
Did really well.
Word of mouth works, huh?
Yeah. So then we did another production of it at the Northwest Actors Studio stage, which is a 100-seat theater. And we sold out almost every night with the show. And then I just knew that people were. I mean, we can't deny our history. We can't deny our history when it comes to the gay theater. But I think at that time, people wanted to see some little lightness in some of the plays when it comes to the gay community, and it wasn't really out there per se at that time. So I just, and things have changed. Things have changed. We're a stronger community as before. We still have that, and we still have the AIDS in not just our community, all the communities. Right. So, but we just, right now we know that that's part of our community. Of our community, our lives. We know that. But now it's time to move on and find other topics, other shows, other themes to present. So,
yeah. Do you find that that's more, more readily, I don't want to say accepted because that's not the word that I want to use, but more readily consumed by just typical audiences now? Because it seems like something like that would have been topically a fringe audience at a certain point, but now it's sort of a more common thing, I think. Is that reasonable? Or
guess so.
I mean, I'm a cis white dude. I don't know.
I mean, I think right now, a lot of people, with the new generation that's happening right now, a lot more things are really moving away from the AIDS thing. I'm thinking of more of the coming out situations. Being gay is somewhat more accepted now. I think in the communities, you don't have to be ashamed about losing your. Well, I take that back. In some of the states, you could lose your job, but there's nothing to be ashamed of anymore. Right. And I think with the young people right now, they have they're now able to come out. And I mean, some. I mean, because there's those problems in Utah where it's a high suicide rate with LGBT community and things like that, and it's just shocking. And it's so hard seeing these Facebook posts of kids who commit suicide and they're 7 years old or 13 or whatever. It's so sad. And that's why visibility
becomes an option for a 7-year-old.
Yeah. Because you're getting bullied by kids in kids in school. It's ridiculous. And that's why visibility is so important, to see someone in the community that is doing something that they're not ashamed of doing or being who they are. And that's why it's really important when you see Billy Porter just saying he doesn't give a shit what people think. And I'm surrounded by a really great family, and they care about me. They love me. They support me. I'm Uncle Jeff.
That's great.
Gunkle Jeff.
Gunkle.
And Gunkle Bill. So we're together. I mean, it's great. I mean, we're an interracial couple, and they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. So but when it comes to theater and it comes to the things that are happening, visibility, having a gay couple or a gay person in a show, it's great.
What role, what impact do you think that theater and the arts can have on changing the way just public opinion is shaped around these issues? Because it seems to me that there's a huge impact. I mean, if you look back, it's not even that long ago. Like Ellen, her decision to come out on her sitcom cost her sitcom,
right?
But in the long run, she's had a wonderful impact, I think, on the way people view that. So, do you? But
it took her a couple of years. It took her like 3 or 4 years to even get noticed again.
Of course,
because they cut her off at the knees, and even people didn't want to be on her show.
Right.
And I think they kept a list of people who said no. No, seriously, I think they kept the people, and it's like, well, you're not on the show. Screw you. But yeah, it's anytime there's a new project with a LGBT theme, it's great.
Yeah.
Because that means that young little 12-year-old who is feeling different, see something on stage or television or movies. It's good. I mean, you know how shocking it was to have a gay, two guys kiss on television back in the 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Now it's like, whatever. You got it in daytime television. So, I mean, again, people are now being more acceptive. I mean, you're seeing gay couples in commercials.
Yeah.
For Campbell's soup.
And there was no backlash for that.
Nothing at all. I mean, well, there's
on Twitter. There's always someone on Twitter.
There's a group out there that said that they didn't like it, but then I'm not going to say their name because they're not worth it. But Campbell wrote back and said, whatever.
Right.
So yeah.
Now, are you conscious of that when you're writing storylines about this kind of thing, like the impact it may have on the people who see it?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't want to be considered just a gay writer. I just want to be considered a writer.
Right, of course.
So not everything I write is gay. Not everything I wite is black.
No, that's not what I mean.
But I'm saying that for me, it's I want to be just considered a writer.
Yeah.
And if I feel that the character might be someone of my community, then I will put it in. But overall, I try to look at just not label
character first, not trying to shoehorn something into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So Fringe Festival, the dates again?
It is October 17th through the 26th. It is at the 360 Farmington Avenue in Hartford. At the Carriage House Theater, which is across the street from the Mark Twain House on Farmington Avenue.
Okay.
It is it's a great space. It's intimate. It's like 77, 80 seats. It's perfect for the Fringe to start things off. Hopefully next year.
Next year you'll need the convention center or something, I'm sure, right?
Maybe not the convention center, but we would like it. We would like to bring in other venues and hopefully get other acts. Because right now we are making a list, or we have a list of acts that want to do the festival for next year. So we will, hopefully get more and more people next year when we add another or two venues.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people are kind of intrigued by what we're going to be offering, and hopefully we'll get more people for next year who are daring and bold and creative, and they want to come out and play with us.
Yeah. So tickets are available now at hartfordfringefestival.org.
.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
The schedule's there too, right?
The schedule is
so people can
there.
see what's coming.
Yes. And also please sign up for the Hartford Fringe Festival Facebook page group, so you can be in the know on what's updating, because we're posting stuff. I mean, I have things up there right now about our first rehearsal for Woodhall and Beecher.
Okay.
And the show I'm directing, which is by Leslie Gable.
So you've written something for the show, and you're directing something.
And I'm directing the Black Irish one too, and also running the festival. I'm a nutcase.
So busy.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh man.
Good times. Good times.
Well, the festival sounds great. I'm really hoping to be able to catch a day or two of it myself.
I hope so. I mean, we got a lot going on. Saturdays and Sundays are going to be fun. We are also doing a voting for the festival too. So if you come to the festival, you vote for a show that you like. The top 3 shows will be picked for the Best of the Fringe, which would be in November 16th.
Okay. Same venue?
Same venue. Okay. So it would be one night, 3 shows, and we hope that people will come, vote, and check out these other shows that will be in the best of. And then when that closes, start working on 2020.
So get your submissions ready.
Yeah,
right?
get your submissions ready, and hopefully we also hold general auditions too. So for those acts that need performers, we hold a general audition. So hopefully we'll pick the right time of the year to do it, because we did it a little earlier and we didn't get a lot of people. But I think right now, when people see what we're doing, we'll be able to have a great.
Well, they'll get it on their calendar early, right?
Yes. So,
well, thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you. This was fun. I just hopefully I didn't say anything too stupid.
Me maybe. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Another huge thank you to Jeffrey McCann for coming on the show. And don't forget, you can visit hartfordfringefestival.org to get more information about the Fringe Festival coming to Hartford October 17th through 26th. Tickets are available now, and with so many different acts, there's surely something for everyone. You can even catch Jeffrey's own play, Black Irish, as part of the festival. That's going to do it for this round. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, keep creating.